In the headquarters of Denning Pharmaceutical, former employee John takes the elevator and opens his suitcase to reveal he has a gun. On the executive floor, he quickly kills several higher-ups and goes back to the reception, where he sees the police. John says that somebody had to do something and then he self-deletes. Afterward, news programs explain that Denning Pharmaceutical is releasing a new medicine, which is getting FDA approval even though is causing fatal side effects that have already killed 3 people. Because of this, the company is facing a major lawsuit and its stocks are falling, so they're trying to get rid of all the evidence. An important layer called Alan decides to take the case against the company, which will greatly affect his career. He assigns legal assistant Tom to take care of the paperwork, and on Monday he must update his keycard before entering the office because they get reset every weekend. Since John was their key witness and they lost him, Tom tells Alan he wants to add heart attack victims to the pharmaceutical case, but Alan forbids him from doing so because minor victims don't make money. Then Tom is called to the office of another boss to discuss the Gambizzi crime family case. Tom sent a memo because he wants to join that case, but his boss destroys it and scolds Tom for not paying more attention to the cases he already has. Afterward, Tom goes to the file room to put away the file Alan turned down. His girlfriend and co-worker Anna visits him so they can share a few secret kisses. A few hours later, Alan announces that since the servers have been down since last night, everyone can go home. Before Tom can leave, Alan tells him that he made a dangerous mistake with the memo he wrote earlier, so he fires him for it. In the elevator, Tom is joined by a man he never saw before. When they make it to the reception, the man leaves a suitcase on the floor and another guy picks it up before taking the elevator too, which Tom finds suspicious. After checking what floor the man went to, Tom tries to follow him, but his keycard has already been reset. He tries to leave but he sees the stranger waiting for something outside and gets worried, so he asks the guard to activate the elevator for him. Once he makes it to the office, Tom looks around and discovers his coworker Roger is at Tom's desk for some reason, so he asks his friend to open the door for him. Roger behaves strangely and Tom notices the file he put away on the desk. Getting more suspicious, he makes his phone start recording and hides it in a pencil holder. Afterward, he keeps looking around and discovers the mysterious guy messing with the power box. One of the lawyers approaches the man to ask for an ID, not believing him when he says he's maintenance. When the lawyer tries to make a call to confirm his presence, the man takes out a gun and kills her. While the killer takes the body away to hide it, Tom rushes to the bathroom and opens a stall to discover the body of the security guard. When he checks on him, the toilet sensor activates the flushing, so Tom closes the door and climbs on the toilet to hide. Soon the killer comes in and washes the blood off his face while talking to the body, mentioning he'll need the keys. Tom manages to move into the other stall by sneaking under the wall right before the killer takes the keys, gun, and radio from the body. Trying to hide, Tom climbs on this toilet and almost activates the flushing again, but thankfully the killer activates his toilet first and doesn't hear Tom. Then the killer destroys the radio and leaves to shut off the fire sprinkler before going into the file room, where he installs some explosives. Meanwhile, Tom rushes to the break room and finds Roger, so he tells him about the killer before they rush into the elevator. Unfortunately, it isn't working, so they run down the corridor and try the emergency exit. However, the killer had already broken the bar and it can't be opened, so they're trapped. They return to the main area and try to use the reception computer, but the internet is down. Tom notices the killer is coming, so the duo hides, but the killer still sees the computer has been used and gets suspicious. After disconnecting it, he enters the desk area, revealing he also has a keycard. Once he's out of sight, the duo leaves their hiding spot to try to think of something else. Tom takes Roger's keycard and opens the door to the executive offices to find Alan, so he sends Roger to find his phone and call the police. As Tom activates the lock, he drops his jacket and it gets stuck in the door. While Tom searches for Alan, Roger makes it to his desk and uses his phone to call his wife. However, before he can tell her anything, the killer finds him and makes him say everything is fine. Tom sees all this through the window and so he runs to the break room to find a knife. After Roger hangs up, the killer takes out his gun and asks if there's anyone else working late. Roger lies and says it's just him, so the killer grabs a cable and proceeds to choke him, which is all recorded by Tom's phone. By the time Tom comes back, there's nobody at the desk. He grabs his phone and tries to call 911, but it runs out of battery. After connecting the charger, he looks around the office and finds Roger's body in his chair. At that moment, the killer comes back and sees the jacket at the door, so Tom grabs Roger's keycard and quickly hides in the closet, where he's startled by the lawyer's body. Meanwhile, the killer begins dragging Roger's body while making a call on his own phone, complaining to someone because nobody was supposed to be up there. Suddenly, Tom's phone gets enough charge to start ringing. The killer checks it out and after dismissing Anna's call, he discovers the video of his murder. He immediately deletes it and looks at the settings to find Tom's name and picture. Realizing this is the jacket's owner, he calls out Tom's name, but Tom stays hidden under a desk. After the killer leaves, Tom runs into another office and lights some paper on fire to try to activate the fire alarm, but it isn't working either. Suddenly, Tom notices someone in an office in the neighboring building, so he makes a bigger flame inside the trash can and pushes it against the curtains to start a proper fire. This gets the neighbor's attention and Tom makes a gesture to ask him to call for help. Unfortunately, the killer smells something burning, so he grabs a fire extinguisher and rushes to the fire. Tom sees him and runs away before the killer comes inside to put out the flames, then he pretends he's using the phone so the neighbor won't call for help. Minutes later, Tom makes it to the reception and uses the computer to create a new keycard. The killer almost finds him, but he puts the computer in sleep mode and hides under the desk. After the killer leaves, Tom resets all the locks and now the killer can't use his card anymore. Afterward, Tom turns off most of the lights in the building and rushes to Alan's office, only to find him chatting with a woman. At that moment the killer shoots the office lock, so Tom hides behind the door. The guy seems to be familiar with Alan, but when the woman takes out a gun, he immediately kills her. Then he takes her gun and leaves, telling Alan to stay in his office. Once they're alone, Tom asks about the woman's identity and Alan reveals she's part of the Gambizzi crime family. She was supposed to testify against her husband, so Alan guesses the killer was sent by the mafia to shut her up. At that moment they hear a weird noise and discover the killer is trying to get into the file room by hitting the door with an axe, but it's impossible because it's reinforced steel and bulletproof glass. Afterward, Alan and Tom try to escape but must hide when they hear the killer coming. The guy arrives with the janitor and does an impression of his voice, asking Tom to come out or he'll die. Suspicious, Tom asks what nickname he always used for the janitor and obviously the killer doesn't know, so Tom guesses the janitor is already dead. Next the criminal turns the elevators back on, trying to make them come out. Alan and Tom check the corridor and find the janitor's body with a note that says you win. At that moment they hear a phone ringing and rush to the desk, only to be shocked when Tom finds his own number calling. Alan guesses it's a trap and tries to escape, causing the killer to shoot him in the arm. The duo starts running away and the killer chases them as he continuously fires at them, so they hide in an office where they can lock the door. This one isn't reinforced though, so the criminal uses the axe to break it down. By the time he catches up to them, they're already getting into the file room. Tom tries to use the killer's phone to call for help, but it's protected with a password. The man still has Tom's phone and since it doesn't have a pin, he texts Anna to ask her to come over. Desperate to help her, Tom gets an idea and starts using the copy machine. At the entrance, the killer lets Anna in and holds her at gunpoint, asking for her phone to destroy it. At that moment Tom shows up and offers to exchange the keycard for Anna, but the killer isn't convinced until Alan also comes to manage the negotiations. After the gun is dropped, Alan takes the card to the criminal, who lets go of Anna but takes out the guard's gun. Alan pushes him to save Anna, so the killer punches him and drags him to the file room. There he complains that Alan didn't clear the office, meaning they've been working together. After the killer activates the explosives, Tom shows up with the gun, only to discover the criminal has all the bullets. Alan uses the chance to run and the door closes, leaving the killer locked in the file room. He tries to get out with the keycard but it doesn't work because Tom gave him a fake one he made with a copy machine. Suddenly the explosive goes off and starts a fire on the file shelves. The killer tries to put it out to no avail and passes out because of the smoke. Then Tom comes inside and after throwing the gun away, he puts the fire out by pushing the shelves and making them fall. Suddenly the killer wakes up and attacks Tom, so a fight ensues. The man quickly overpowers Tom and Anna cuts in to help, but she only gets punched. Tom uses the distraction to punch the guy and after they both fall, Alan shows up and shoots the killer. Before dying, the man whispers the numbers 11 to 22 and Tom takes the keys from his pocket. While Anna uses the keys to activate the elevators, Tom goes back to the desks and finds the case file, where he discovers that the pharmaceutical company wanted to get rid of all of the evidence. Then he types 11 to 22 on the killer's phone and unlocks it to find Alan's phone number. It turns out Alan was paid by the pharmaceutical company to lose the case, so he hired the man to destroy the files and kill Roger. Alan claims that corporations are more dangerous than the mafia and tries to bribe Tom, but he turns the money down and leaves with the file. Not wanting to go to jail, Alan self-deletes. Soon the police arrive, so Tom rushes to leave with Anna before they can be seen. In the file room, the copy machine is making thousands of copies of the case evidence. This is found by a cop, who happens to be the guy who left the gun for the killer. The officer finds Tom's phone in the killer's hand and immediately calls a hitman to send him after Tom to